Hey guys, it's Tiara. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the foundation shades that I use. I feel that I do get some comments asking like what foundation shades I use. I mean, I understand that some people just want to like compare to see whether my skin tone or my skin shade is similar to theirs and everything. So I do hope that this video is helpful. I'll also be sharing with you the concealer shades that I use, and I'm also gonna be, letting you guys know how I actually like pick foundation shades for myself. So without wasting any more time, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified as to when I upload a brand new video. Let's jump right into it. Alright, before I get into all of the foundation shades, I wanted to share with you like how I usually go about foundation shade matching myself. So the first thing I will usually do if I'm not very sure is I will always use this website called Foundation application, where you can actually input all of the different foundations that you currently own, and then after that they will kind of shade match you to other brands and other brands formulas as well. So I use that quite a lot. However, if I'm like when I was very new and I didn't know what foundation shade I was in, I will actually just go to a makeup store or makeup counter like Sephora or like any of those standalone counters and get their help to kind of shade match me. What they will always do is they will always swipe a couple of shades and see whether which one blends the closest and the easiest, most seamless to my neck. So that's what I always do on myself as well. And as I grew more comfortable with foundation shade matching and all of that, I will actually just go to Sephora and swatch the foundations that I want, and then after I'll just go to the mirror to kind of see whether it's blending onto my neck. Back then, now I wear tudung, so it's a bit hard for me to blend down my neck. Why it's down your neck, especially when you're not like wearing a scarf or something like that, like you want everything to look like one. You don't want your face to look a little bit like brighter or too bright or too dark than your neck, right? So that's why they always say to match it to your neck. I am not shy to ask for help in the makeup store, and I think that you should not be also. But I think one thing that I would also recommend is to understand like what kind of skin tone that you have. Like for myself, I do feel that I fall between like a neutral warm kind of undertone, simply because I have a lot of redness and I can't take too yellow undertone foundations, at least in my opinion. So I always go more neutral peach than I do to the yellow side. So that's how I kind of figure it out. One thing I also like, this has helped me a lot as well, is that once I find a foundation shade that I know works for me from any particular brand, I will literally use that as a basis for me to find similar shades from other brands and other formulas, and usually that works very well for me. Like I always hit it spot on and I get a shade that I am really very happy with. So that's just like, I guess like some sort of like tips and tricks that I have gathered along the years as I continue to buy more and more makeup. Alright, so now let's jump into the different foundation shades that I use. First up, I would like to highlight the shades that I use for my NARS foundations. I have all NARS foundations here, and I have one more, which is the Soft Matte Coverage Foundation. I use Santa Fe in all of them. I do feel that NARS foundations, no matter which formula you go for, I feel that the shades remain quite consistent no matter what formula. So I first got my Santa Fe in the in the Sheer Glow foundation, and ever since then I've just purchased Santa Fe for all of the other foundations, and they seem to work really well on me. Like I do feel that they match me as like, not, I wouldn't say 100% like perfectly or anything, but I'm comfortable with how the matching is like. So that's just what I'm wearing in NARS, which is in the shade Santa Fe. For my Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation, I'm in the shade 320 Pine. Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation, I am in the shade Warm Ivory. So for this one, actually, I do feel that this leans towards the yellower side undertone for this foundation. I think this might be the more yellowy undertone foundation that I actually own. Initially, I was like, oh no, it's gonna look really yellow on me. But when I blend it in with like a sponge or a brush, and then I'll put on my concealer, it actually blends out pretty nicely, and I get a very nice, flawless like match. Like a very good looking skin, and it doesn't, you know, there's no harsh line or anything at my jawline, so it really matches my neck pretty well as well. So there's just something to note about this one. It's something that I thought of when I got it. I was like, oh my god, it looks really yellow. I think I reviewed it and I was like, oh my god, it looks very yellow on camera, but when I blended it in, everything looked pretty great. Now on to a drugstore foundation. It's one that I own right now, and it's the Catrice True Skin Foundation. For this one, I am in the shade 020 Warm Beige. I don't really feel that this matches me very well, but it's good enough, simply because they don't really have that many shades for this foundation. There's only like 4, so a bit limited there, but it still works for me. And for my IT Cosmetics CC cream, I'm in the shade light medium. I think this is the best shade for me. I used to use a darker shade, and then like they came up with more like in between shades, so this one is the one that I wear for now. Alright, now on to some Colourpop. So I do own this Colourpop Pretty Fresh foundation, and on this I am in the shade Light 7 OW. I think that this shade is not bad for me. I quite like how they have like so many shade ranges with so many undertones, so that's great. It makes it easier for you to find like a perfect match. So this was one that I really just tested on a whim, because I have to buy online, right? You can't really test it. But I think this is a not bad match. I think I did a review on it, so I'll link it down below or in the card section. And I think the last foundation that I have on hand right now in front of me is the Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation. Honestly, I haven't been using this. I should probably throw it away. But I'm in the shade 2.5 for this, and I do feel that the shade match is pretty on point as well. So remember just now I was sharing with you that I always base off Santa Fe from NARS, right? So sometimes when I want to try a new foundation, I will either go online foundation and I will lock in my NARS foundation, and I'll just see all of the available shades that match that foundation, which in turn, you know, would match me. And if I don't do that, I will actually go to Sephora, for example. I will swatch Santa Fe on my hand, and then I will go around and I will swatch whatever foundation it is that I want to try, and I'll see which one matches Santa Fe the best. That actually works well for me, so that's something that you can potentially try. Now on to concealers. So I don't really have that many concealers that I personally use on myself anymore. I actually only have these 3. So for Tarte Shape Tape, which I haven't used in a very long time, but I used for a very long time for a while, I'm in the shade Light Medium Sand. And for my concealers, I personally do not like to do a very bright under eye area. I like something that's maybe about at least one shade lighter than my skin tone, but not very light, because I do like to use my concealers to spot conceal. And that's what I did with this concealer as well. This is the one of my favorite ones. This is the Too Faced multi-use sculpting concealer. I use the shade Light Beige. If you see my previous video, which is the Thai bridal makeup, right, you will notice that this doesn't have that much of a brightening effect, like, you know, like typically you would use under your eyes. But I really like it just has the enough amount of brightness under the eyes to cover whatever that needs to be covered, but at the same time brighten it ever so slightly without making it look too like booms, right? So that's just my preference what kind of like concealers I like to use. I know there are people who want to go a bit brighter, and that's fine as well. There's no right or wrong. It's really truly like what your preferences are. And on this one, this is the NARS Soft Matte Coverage Concealer. I'm on the shade, I use the shade Custard for this. It's in medium 1. I use this to carve my brows and to spot conceal. So again, I don't use this to highlight anything. It's more of like concealing, you know, blemishes or carving out my brows. Nothing too heavy for under the eyes. But generally, I always go for custard for concealer in NARS, even for the Radiant Creamy Concealer. And I will always get ginger as well. I keep ginger in my makeup kit for my clients who are like slightly more darker skin tone than me, and that works like perfectly fine. Alright, so those are the foundation and concealer shades that I use. To wrap up the video, or before we wrap up the video, I thought I'll just kind of swatch all of the foundations on my hand and I'll label it for you guys so that you can see the differences between them. And then yeah. For the NARS foundations, this is the Soft Matte foundation, the Radiant Longwear foundation, the All Day Luminous Weightless foundation, NARS Sheer Glow, and this is the Light Reflecting foundation. Alright, next up we have Shiseido, Hourglass, Catrice, and then the IT Cosmetics CC cream. Over here we have the Pretty Fresh foundation from Colourpop, and this is the Beauty Blender Bounce. Alright, now for the concealers. This is the NARS Soft Matte Coverage Concealer, this is the Tarte Shape Tape, and the last one is the Too Faced Sculpted Concealer. Alright, so that's it for today's video. I hope it has been helpful and beneficial for all of you. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for your support for the last couple of weeks as I try my best to be, you know, consistent with my video postings, which I'm really happy that I have been sticking to it. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend ahead, and I'll see you guys soon in my next video. Bye!